Quarantine Facebook Lives day 3. Am I wearing the same shirt as day 2? Yes, I am. Don't worry about that. So, fun topic today. Arguments that go nowhere is our starting place. You know, those arguments where you just leave it feeling like, okay, we did not get anywhere with that. I do not feel like they heard my point at all. Sometimes they spin out so hard where you don't even feel like you know where you started or what you're talking about anymore. It's always very fun. Not really. It's pretty destructive. In some cases, very, very destructive to our relationships. So let's start with, why does this happen? So there's a lot of reasons why it happens, but the two I'll go over today, which I think are two really important ones that can make a lot of difference if you understand them. Well, the first one is because when I say something to you, you don't actually hear what I say. You hear some interpretation or edit or translation of what I say to you. And then you filter that through your own system of meaning. And then you respond not to what I said, but to what you think that I said. If the thing that I said is not that big of a deal, that it doesn't have that much emotion behind it for you, or it's not a charged topic, you probably won't interpret it that much. But if it's something that does have a lot of emotion or is a charged topic, you will interpret it quite a bit. So basically, when two people are having an argument that goes nowhere, one thing that's happening is one person saying something, and then the other person interprets it, filters that, translates it to what they think it means, and then they respond based on not what the person said, but what they think it means, and say something back to them. Then the first person interprets and translates that, and then responds back to the person with their thing. And this goes on and on and on. And what happens is, during the course of this, often we end up with like multiple different conversations happening at the same time. There was conversation A, and then it got changed to conversation B, and then we debated conversation B for a while. Now there's a third conversation. Now I'm back here, you're up here. And a lot of times we can have like 3 or 4 conversations at the same time, and people don't realize that they're having different conversations. So this is one reason the arguments don't go anywhere. And the second reason arguments don't go anywhere is because of this thing I was talking about. We're debating back and forth conversation B for a while. Often what happens is, in arguments, someone will share their feelings or their issue or whatever it is. I put feelings in quote marks because sharing your feelings tends to be more of sharing your thoughts. But in any case, so someone's sharing their feelings, and the person's response is, this makes me feel a way about, this is not what they're thinking, but what happens is, this makes me feel a way about myself, or think that you feel a way about me that I don't want to feel, right? Or it implies something that I don't want to deal with, or makes me have to do something I don't want to deal with. And so what ends up, I'll say something very common, we get defensive, right? But what does that mean? How does that look? What it means is we end up basically debating what the person is saying, and implying back to them, you do not deserve to feel the way that you feel or think the things that you think, and you shouldn't feel that way. And at that point, the first person is basically going to go, wait a minute, I do deserve to feel the way that I feel. I do deserve to feel this way. And we'll make a case back to them about why they're now wrong about thinking I shouldn't feel this way. And so we end up having like this ongoing argument with a bunch of little unimportant details that basically amounts to, I feel a certain way, you shouldn't feel that way, yes I should, no you shouldn't, yes I should, no you shouldn't, and then it ends up going nowhere. So these are the two ways that conversations tend to go nowhere. And the second one has a lot of kind of cool like details about our own personalities and our own versions of this, but we'll leave it here for now, and you can see if you just see yourself in that little example or that little explanation. So what do we do about this? So first of all, with the first thing, what we need to do is understand that we're doing these translations, and then when they're happening, check in with the person about whether or not we even interpreted what they were saying correctly, right? So this might get really heated and be like, all I hear you saying to me right now is that you don't want to help me with this thing that I need help with. Right. And then it will end up being something like, no, that's not what I'm saying at all. What I'm saying is, this one particular aspect of it doesn't feel good to me, but I do want to help you, and I want to find a way to do it well. Right. So you have to ask for clarity about the things that you're actually interpreting, because oftentimes they're going to be to the side of what's really going on, and just something totally different that's because of our feelings. or they're going to be way, way, way oversimplified. This is a big one where we take these complex conversations, oversimplify it. Oh, you're saying you just don't care about me or something like that, right? So first of all is knowing that we're translating things, and then saying what they are to the other person, and then giving them an opportunity to actually respond to us. And so we actually know what we're talking about, and we keep it on that first level. So we don't end up having 3 different conversations simultaneously. I'm having this one, you're having this one, and we're never meeting each other. Like, what is the actual conversation we're having? Let's have it with each other and then go from there. So that's one thing. The second thing is with the second issue, when person 1 brings up, this is my issue, I feel this way, this is my thought process, whatever, the correct thing to do, that is very hard because of our egos, is just to put your thing to the side, right? And trust that you're going to get back to it. And hopefully there is a space for you to get back to it. That's a whole nother problem. But in a good relationship, you put your thing to the side and it's like, what is it you're trying to say to me? Right? Okay, I make you feel unimportant. It doesn't matter if it's objectively true. It doesn't really matter if the facts of the situation are true. All it is just, I get that I make you feel unimportant when I didn't show up to this thing that you asked me to show up to, or when I didn't call you when I said I was going to call you, or whatever, like that. And that's totally valid. That's the world of their feelings. And you just get out of the way of your thing and you deal with that thing, right? And it's like, okay, how can I make you feel more important? I don't want to have that impact on you, especially in a romantic relationship. Both people are never going to want to have that negative impact on each other, right? So we just need to hear that we are, unfortunately, and make a plan, make a strategy, hear those feelings, really get it, and then make a plan like, how can I make you feel more important? How can we actually work this? And then once that's complete, you go to the other side of, well, are you willing to hear my feedback? Like there was, and it might be something like, I couldn't call you because, something really bad happened, or whatever, I got distracted, or whatever valid thing. Like, I feel like I don't have the space to kind of make mistakes, because whenever I make a mistake, you make it about it being unimportant, right? And that might also be a second valid thing, is like, the first person might be bringing this feeling and it may be wildly disproportionate to the situation. So there also has to be that space to come back and be like, I want you to work on like addressing the actual problem itself, instead of this idea that I'm making you unimportant, right? And that can be a valid thing. The important thing is that these things are not competing with each other. You are not debating with each other about, my thing's better or more real and your thing isn't. No, my thing's more real and your thing isn't. No, you don't get it. No, you don't get it, right? Whenever you find yourself in a debate, you know that something has gone wrong, and you're actually for sure not going to get anywhere. You're going to leave the conversation feeling crappy, right? So both things need to be attended to as their own thing, which is why I say getting into each other's worlds. Let me get into the world of the issue, understand your side of it, understand your world, understand what you need differently from me so I can make you feel better. Now you give that back to me, understand my side of it, understand how this is for me, get into my world. And through that, even though that might seem sort of like cumbersome and like it's too like stilted and will take a long time, I promise you it's way, 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 way more efficient to deal with it this way. In addition to the fact that it isn't stilted, like both people for sure feel more heard and calmer and more grounded, and like the relationship is going well from this being the way that you do it. So I hope that was really helpful. I'm going to cut it off here for now, because this is a big one. I could go on about this for a long time. But so basically the things are, we translate and interpret what people say, and then we base our response on that. And then the process of that happening creates a bunch of different conversations happening at once. So we have to clarify what conversation is happening at what time. And also when we get stuck on a certain conversation, it's because we're debating things back and forth, right? And saying, you shouldn't feel that way. No, I should feel that way. And we're not getting into each other's world. So know what conversation you're having, check your translations and interpretations, and tell the other person what it is and check it out. And then also make sure to get into each other's worlds as you bring up issues, instead of debating whether or not they should feel that way or not. All right, I will see you every day, but I'm doing my best during quarantine. All right, I hope you're doing okay during this time as well.